Welcome to yet another episode of the Daily Speaking Tree. In today's episode from Saint Faustina's diary, she describes a profound spiritual experience. Initially hesitant, she offers herself completely to God as a living sacrifice. Overwhelmed by a vision of future sufferings, both physical and spiritual, she bravely consents to this path. God assures her that even without her acceptance, His love remains. However, her free will unlocks the full power of this offering. With complete surrender, Faustina experiences a deep union with God, a state of overwhelming joy and love. She feels transformed, marked by God's presence within her. So let's read Saint Faustina's diary number 135. During the third probation, Lord gave me to understand that I should offer myself to Him, so that He could do with me as He pleased. I was to remain standing before Him as a victim offering. At first, I was quite frightened, as I felt myself to be so utterly miserable, and knew very well that this was the case. I answered the Lord once again, I am misery itself. How can I be a hostage? You do not understand this today. Tomorrow, during your adoration, I will make it known to you. My heart trembled, as did my soul. So deeply did these words sink into my soul. The word of God is living. When I came to the adoration, I felt within my soul that I had entered the temple of the living God, whose majesty is great and incomprehensible, and He made known to me what even the purest spirits are in His sight. Although I saw nothing externally, God's presence pervaded me. At that very moment, my intellect was strangely illumined. A vision passed before my eyes of my soul. It was like the vision Jesus had in the Garden of Olives. First, the physical sufferings and all the circumstances that would increase them. The full scope of the spiritual sufferings and those that no one would know about that. Everything entered into the vision. False suspicions, loss of good name. I have summarized it here, but this knowledge was already so clear that what I went through later was in no way different from what I had known at that moment. My name is sacrifice. When the vision ended, a cold sweat bathed my forehead. Jesus made it known to me that even if I did not give my consent to this, I could still be saved. And He would not lessen His graces, but would still continue to have the same intimate relationship with me, so that even if I did not consent to make this sacrifice, God's generosity would not lessen thereby. And the Lord gave me to know that the whole mystery depended on me, on my free consent to the sacrifice given with full use of my faculties. In this free and conscious act lies the whole power and value before His majesty. Even if none of these things for which I offered myself would ever happen to me, before the Lord everything was as though it had already been consummated. At that moment, I realized I was entering into communion with the incomprehensible majesty. I felt that God was waiting for my word, for my consent. Then my spirit immersed itself in the Lord, and I said, Do with me as you please. I subject myself to your will. As of today, your holy will shall be my nourishment, and I will be faithful to your commands with the help of your grace. Do with me as you please, I beg you, O Lord. Be with me at every moment of my life. Suddenly, when I had consented to the sacrifice, with all my heart and with all my will, God's presence pervaded me. My soul became immersed in God and was inundated with such happiness that I cannot put in writing even the smallest part of it. I felt that His majesty was enveloping me. I was extraordinarily fused with God. I saw that God was well pleased with me, and reciprocally my spirit drowned itself in Him. Aware of this union with God, I felt I was especially loved, and in turn I loved with all my soul. A great mystery took place during that adoration, a mystery between the Lord and myself. It seemed to me that I would die of love, His glance. I spoke much with the Lord without uttering a single word, and the Lord said to me, "You are the delight of my heart. From today on, every one of your acts, even the very smallest, will be a delight to my eyes, whatever you do." At that moment, I felt transconsecrated. My earthly body was the same, but my soul was different. God was now living in it with the totality of His delight. This is not a feeling, but a conscious reality that nothing can obscure. A great mystery has been accomplished between God and me. Courage and strength have remained in my soul. When the time of adoration came to an end, I came out and calmly faced everything I had feared so much before. When I came out into the corridor, a great suffering and humiliation at the hands of a certain person was awaiting me. I accepted it with submission to a higher will and snuggled closely to the most sacred heart of Jesus, letting Him know that I was all ready for that for which I had already myself. Suffering seemed to me to spring out of the ground. Even Mother Margaret herself was surprised. For others, many things passed unnoticed, for indeed it wasn't worth paying any attention to them. But in my case, nothing passed unnoticed. Each word was analyzed, each step watched. One sister said to me, "Get ready, sister, to receive a small cross at the hands of the Mother Superior. I feel sorry for you." But as for me, I rejoiced at this in the depths of my soul and had been ready for it for a long time. When she saw my courage, she was surprised. I see now that a soul cannot do much of itself, but with God it can do all things. Behold what God's grace can do. Few are the souls that are always watchful for divine graces, and even fewer of such souls who follow those inspirations faithfully. Still, a soul which is faithful to God cannot confirm its own inspirations. It must submit them to the control of a very wise and learned priest, and until it is quite certain. It should remain distrustful. It should not, on its own initiative alone, put its trust in these inspirations and all other higher graces, because it can thus expose itself to great losses. Even though a soul may immediately distinguish between false inspirations and those of God, it should nevertheless be careful, because many things are uncertain. God is pleased and rejoices when a soul distrusts Him for His own sake, because it loves Him. It is prudent and itself asks and searches for help to make certain that it is really God who is acting within it. And once a well-instructed confessor has confirmed this, the soul should be at peace and give itself to God according to His directions, that is, according to the directions of the confessor.